Hello my ducks, it's Simon here. Welcome back to the Hermit's Cave. I hope everybody is doing okay. Hopefully, well, I was going to say, hopefully this won't be a long video, but I do have a tendency to ramble when I'm doing these type of videos. And thank you for everybody's comments on yesterday's How to Learn Tarot RWS, which was a request. I almost didn't upload it because I thought it was very rambly. But I've had some lovely comments this morning, so I guess what one person might feel is rambly, that might not be applicable to everybody else, and you know, people found it informative and useful, so I'm grateful for everybody's feedback. So it's staying up. But today's video is about preparing for the new year. And I always get to this part of the year and I have all these great ideas, and it never really comes to fruition, or very seldom comes to fruition. But today is the only day out of the whole almost 3 weeks of being off work where I don't have any plans, other than I got up this morning at 5 a.m. I drove over to my friends, we walked the dogs, we had a coffee, and I was back home for 8:30 this morning. And I've been very fortunate because over the Christmas period, you know, it's been a combination of meeting up with friends or going to visit family, staying with family, and there's been something every day. So today I thought, well, what I'm going to do is a little bit of a declutter. So, because that's always good for the mind, the body and the soul. When I declutter, I feel so much better. So I kind of combined decluttering and looking at my journals, setting them up, thinking about decks I want to work with, thinking about my card of the year, word of the year. And I just decided, do you know what? I'm going to just film and kind of talk through as much to help me as perhaps it might be helpful to anybody else watching. I'm going to start off with, before I go through, shall I? I was going to say, before I go through decks and journals, that sort of thing, I'm going to start off with my card of the year, because I've already mentioned it. If you watch the Christmas Cuppa Catch Up and Cards, which happened almost 2 weeks ago now, with my lovely friend Jenna from Jennifer Ball's Witch House, as part of that Christmas Cuppa Catch Up and Cards, which we've done every year since 2017, we talk about our card of the year, how it played out, and then we look at our card for the next year. And I shared in there that my card for 2023 was Temperance. Just to recap, if there, in fact, I've probably got a visual in my little book, a little box of stuff that I do, Christmas Cuppa Catch Up and Cards. Here we go. So the way you do it is you add up your date of birth. So mine is the 15th of October. I know Americans do it the other way around. So if you're in America, it doesn't matter. They still add up. And then the year that you're going into. So 15th of October, 2023, when you add them all up, it comes to 14, which for me this year is Temperance. Okay? And just to point out, because I always get asked, 2022. Card 22 is the Fool, because the Fool is 0, but he's very much part of the deck. So he takes the position of 22. Anything below 22, you know, you can have, some people go further. So I've got 14. I could add 1 and 4 together and have 5 and have the Hierophant. And, you know, I kind of bring that energy in as well. But then you would never get the higher numbers. So I just condense it down to anything that comes below 22. So for me, it's Temperance. And I was really pleased because I have been giving a lot of thought to how my life is at the moment in terms of trying to find balance. And a lot of that is, well, I could say out of my control. There's always something we can do to control things. But, you know, I get up at 5:30 in the morning, I shower, I have a coffee, I do my cards, I do a little bit of meditation. I'm out the house for 7 a.m. I get back around the same time in the evening, then time I've had my dinner. I just kind of collapse for a couple of hours, watch some YouTube or some TV and bed, and back it goes again. Weekends tend to be cleaning, laundry, shopping, as in food shopping, or visiting with friends and things. So I do find that certain things that I try and plan for my year ahead don't happen because of time. But, you know, we can always adjust things and make time. And, you know, I don't need to necessarily leave at 7 o'clock in the morning. That's because I like to get in before other people and have a little bit of quiet time and, you know, but there's adjustments that can be made. But for me, there's so much that I want to do. Like, I want to read a book. That sounds really daft, doesn't it? But this year, I have not completed a book. Nada, not a single one. And I struggle reading books. I can read perfectly. But again, I've mentioned before, with ADD, reading a book is really difficult for me. And I know it affects people in different ways. But I will turn pages, you know, and then I'll turn 3 or 4 pages and realise not a single word has gone in. You know, my mind has gone somewhere else. And that's what ADD is. It's attention deficit. And so I'll go back and I'll reread the same pages over and over again many times. So I'm going to talk a little bit about a book that I bought yesterday when I talk about things that I want to do during 2023. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Temperance card and why it's going to be important to me. I mean, the temperance, the word temperance, you know, even back in ancient times was seen as a cardinal virtue. Let's put it that way. It's a virtue, temperance. And it's about, you know, finding that balance in life with all things so that you get more harmony, but also aiming for your highest goals. And that's something that I certainly have struggled with. And just, I mean, if we look at the images in this card, there's so much happening in the Temperance card, like all of Pamela Colman-Smith's artwork. Firstly, you know, the first thing we see is the angel. We've got an angel standing on the earth, and everything about temperance is about the balance, you know, and that's, having an angel on the earth is about connection with your higher self, but still being grounded. And it always reminds me of when I was in the church years ago, there was somebody who was seen to be very sort of, I'm not going to go down this route, but a quote that was once given to me when talking about somebody else, and I've always remembered it, was they said to me, yeah, but do you know what? There's no benefit to being that heavenly minded that you're of no earthly use. And it's always stuck in my mind, you know. It's great to be spiritual, but, you know, we are here. We're in the physical realm. We're on the earth, and it's what we do here on the earth in the physical realm that counts. So be spiritually minded, but be of an earthly use as well. And again, it's that balance. There's so many symbols in here. We look at the breastplate, you know, the balance between masculine and feminine. The square represents the masculine, the kind of pyramid shape. The triangle represents the feminine. And again, you know, gender is, it's pretty fluid. And we all, I'm sure, if we're truly honest, can identify with both our feminine sides and our masculine sides. And, you know, it's ever shifting and ever changing. The mixing here between the two cups, the two chalices, the water, which is about allowing differences to flow, to be able to achieve what it is that we want to achieve. The long path here, you know, an analogy that life is a journey, you know, and it takes time. It takes time to achieve what it is we want to achieve. our higher goals. But look at the reward at the end. We've got this beautiful, glorious sunshine coming up between the mountains, where this long and rocky path going over this rough terrain is taking us to. And the mountains themselves, your mountains represent in the tarot, you know, that sort of interconnectedness between heaven and earth. It's seen as the kind of the meeting place, the marriage between heaven and earth. And the sun representing, like we see here, the third eye, the radiance. Those two are connected as well, the sun and the third eye, which is about our personal will, but also the will of fate and how they come together. The personal will and the will of fate, and that again, that interconnectedness, how they come together. I mean, again, we've got 1 foot in the water, 1 foot in the earth. It's about, you know, it's about that balance. It's about, you know, keeping your feet firmly on the ground, but it's about being in touch with your emotions. So you have to think about your worldly state as well as your emotional state, the physical state. The wings, what I really love, because I think I remember seeing this in probably the book, The Ultimate Guide, or maybe one of Jen's play dates. The wings are deliberately outside of the image, and that is to represent its possibilities with no end in sight. You know, we don't see the ends of the wings, but when we outstretch our wings and open ourselves up, we open ourselves up to endless possibilities. And I just think that's really beautiful. Yeah, it's just such a great analogy, isn't it? So anyway, excuse me. I should have made myself a coffee, actually. I might have to pause and make a coffee. So I wanted to talk a little bit about my card of the year and why it's important for me going forward. And then lots of people talk about the word of the year. Now, my word of the year for 2022 was reflect. And boy, did that word come into play this year. There's been a lot for me to reflect on this year, particularly as I get to the end of the year. And I think a lot of us, when we get to the end of the year, we're forced to reflect on the year that we've had. I mean, that song that we all sing at New Year's, you know, Auld Lang Syne, should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind. It's such a powerful but very sad song, and I've always found New Year very melancholy. I don't particularly enjoy it, but I try and make the most of it and, you know, not be a miserable git at New Year. But reflect has been an important important word of the year for me, and I have been forced. You know, if you're going to put out into the universe that there's something you want to focus on, and then think that, you know, you can forget about it, the universe will have different ideas. I've been forced into situations this year where I've had to reflect on my attitudes, my behaviours, the behaviours of others and how that impacts on me and how I allow it to impact on me, without going down a whole kind of rabbit hole there. But I went onto Etsy and I put in word of the year, not Etsy, sorry, Pinterest. And there's lots of things on Pinterest. And there was a sheet with 150 words on it. And my eyes kept going back to the same word over and over again. And the word is mindful. And it wasn't until I thought about doing this video and I pulled out the Temperance card that I thought, wow, actually, how perfect are they together? A year of temperance, and I can't achieve this without being mindful. And I want a year where I'm more mindful about things. This year as well, I've kind of scaled back on buying tarot. I know a lot have been sent to me, but when I think about actual purchases, it's not a lot at all compared to previous years. But then, you know, I started buying fountain pens. I started buying LPs, vinyls, as we now call them. I don't know why I keep doing that all the while. That's an annoying thing. And again, I want to be more mindful about the balance when it comes to bringing material things into the home. I don't have the biggest of apartments. I make great use of the space, but sometimes it can get a little bit overwhelming as well when I'm bringing lots of stuff in. So again, I want to be more mindful in that respect and, you know, apply temperance to that. So that's my word of the year, is to be more mindful in every aspect of my life as well. Okay, let's talk a little bit about journals. So my main, I've got a few, but my main journal that I'm going to be using is this one, and I love this. So 2023, it's really nice size. It's by Moleskine. I love Moleskine. There's a scuff here because it had like a sticker on it, which I didn't want. It's got a couple of things that I've popped in there already. And I put, you know, a few things. But this has a beautiful layout. It has the month. I've just turned to February because there are a few things I've written at the beginning that is personal. And then there's days. And this one is just, you know, kind of like general. I want this out on my desk, and I want to be able to come home and I want to be able to write in it. Just a few reflections on the day. I'm not going to use this for like appointments or anything like that. That's not what I use my journals for as such. Each month is separated as well by these grey pages. You've got some habits, so you can track things here. But these are just where I'm going to write down general things. And the pen I'm going to use, because I've paired some pens with my journal as well, is my Benu Euphoria. And this one is the Bourbon, which is beautiful. And it has a brown ink. It has a gorgeous nib. Let me see if I can show you at the beginning. I'll just sign my name. So it has this gorgeous brown ink. So yeah, so that's what I'm going to be using. And this is just a daily journal, okay? So I will use, if I've got things coming up for the month ahead, so we've got the month of March here. If I go away for a weekend, I'll write it in so I can see a month at a time. But here's where I'll just come home and just write a few kind of things about my day. It's kind of like a log, really. So that's the first one. Pop that there. I've also got, and I bought this last year, and I didn't use it as much as I thought I would, but this is Flavia and Barbara's Witch's Diary for the Northern Hemisphere. And I've shown this on Cup of Catherine Cards. There is so much information about in this book. It's full of witchy goodness. It's got all, I mean, the artwork is incredible as well. But it's got all of the sabbats. It's got incantations. It's got all about the moon cycles. There is so much in this. I love it. And disappointingly, in 2023, and it's been improved, it's by Rockpool, it's been improved for this year. I didn't use it as much as I intended to. So look, we've got all the moon phases here. I wish there was an index to show you. Full moons, lunar and solar eclipses. We've got the wheel of the year, the cross quarters and equinoxes, planting and harvesting days, planet rulers and signs, magical weekdays, goddess and moon phase. There's just everything. So much. Kitchen witchery, Beltane, Midsummer Invocation, Witchy Tips. I mean, look at that. Absolutely gorgeous. So I'm going to use this as a study guide to improve my spiritual practice, but also because you don't get a lot of space, I'm going to use this as a tarot tracker. Now, I used to buy the book Tarot Tracker, and I found it a little bit boring in as much as it was just the same thing day in, day out, you know, just a list of days. Whereas this, you know, as I'm writing in each of the days, so it's actually started from this Monday. We're here now, Friday the 30th, which is the first quarter moon. You know, I can write my cards in, my 3 cards, and then I've got a tracker of the cards, but I can also see the relevance to certain days and things as well. And I can read this as I go, and I'll be able to manage that. Actually just reading little bits at a time as I go through the year, rather than thinking I've got to read volumes and volumes of stuff, if that makes sense. Because this is in black and white, I'm going to be using the Writer's Blood. Now, this pen is the TWSBI 580 Diamond with the iris effects. And again, this writes beautifully. Let's see if there's a space at the beginning. I don't think there is. Right, so I'm just going to write my name in this, so you can see the Writer's Blood. And I just think it will look a nice contrast with having the Writer's Blood, this nice purpley red against the black and white. So the 2023 Witch's Diary is the book that I'm going to be working with to kind of fine tune and learn more about the kind of the wheel of the year and everything else, all the moon cycles and witchy tips, but also use it as my tarot tracker. And then I got this Lamy book, which is really bright and jazzy. This is going to be, oops, just share my phone number there. This is going to be a, because it's got like graph paper, this is my bullet journal, okay? And this is, you don't need me to explain bullet journals. And if you do, then do go onto YouTube, look at Kelly Fitzgerald. She does an excellent demonstration of how to set up a bullet journal. But bullet journaling is something I can really get on board with. It's almost like a to-do list of sorts, but it's also about ideas and inspirations, decks that I'm receiving, decks that I'm reviewing, just anything, appointments, whatever. You just write the day, you use your bullets, you list them all, you tick them all off when you've done them, and you've got a chronological log of activities, events, and tasks and all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty plain, but that's all you want a bullet journal to be. There is a nice pocket in there to pop a few things in. There's 2 ribbons in these beautiful kind of fluorescent yellow and orange. And for this, I'm going to be using the Briolette. And, oh, what one was this called? The Briolette. It's gone out of my mind. But I haven't used this as much as I thought I would. And I'm only just, the nib originally was quite scratchy, but it's just started to break in. So this is going to be my bullet journal for 2023. And I'm using a beautiful purple ink in this one. So that's the one I'm going to use in that. And this little stretchy thing is quite good because it fits perfectly for that. Okay. So that's my bullet journal that I'm going to be using. And then the only other thing to mention is my traveler's journal, which I've had now for 5 years. Yeah, 5 years I've had this. And this is just the odds and sods, all sorts that I've put in this. it's got an old bullet journal in there, a little bit of everything. So it's got about my astrological stuff, tarot wish lists. It's got, I don't know, all sorts, bits and bobs, my business card. Don't know why that was back to front, but anyway. Yeah, all sorts of things in there. I've got, little, what do they call those little tabs? Ruler, more little tabs. I just kind of shove everything in here. My optical eye record, my gratitude journal, and then, yeah, just different, there's all sorts shoved in this. I sometimes shove some money in there as well. This goes in my work bag, and it goes around with me. Sometimes I just jot down ideas and things like that. And this has just got a All-Star, Alarmy All-Star that I use with that in just a normal metallic blue ink as well, like a shimmering ink, I should say, not metallic. So that's journals. Books. I bought this yesterday. I saw it on Stephen Bright's Instagram, I think it was. And I was in the bookshop, and again, I buy books thinking, oh, I'll read that, and I don't. And a book like this I would struggle with, A, to find time, and B, as I've already mentioned, to take in all the information. But this is Jennifer Lane's The Wheel, and it's a witch's path to healing through nature. Now, my intention, and it's just an intention because I don't set resolutions, because I never ever successfully achieve my New Year's resolutions. So I just set intentions. But what my intention is I'm going to read this book through the year. Now, it starts with Yule. I've read the opening, and I've read Yule, and I'm up to Imbolc. Now, I can manage reading 48 pages, in a sitting, or at least a couple of days. And so I think that if I go through the year just reading in chunks, I'll achieve it. Because I don't want another year to pass where I have to say I haven't read a book from cover to cover. So this one really appealed to me because I can break it down. I love reading about the Wheel of the Year, but this one as well is her kind of personal take. I really enjoyed reading about it on the back. So it empowers readers to resist a conventional existence and look deeper into the heart of nature. And then it says here, one winter, Jennifer Lane reached breaking point in her fast-paced, screen-based office life. I can relate. In the year that followed her stress-related illness, she set out to rediscover the solace and purpose that witchcraft had given her as a teenager. The Wheel is an immersive, engaging read, and I've only read Yule so far, but it really is, exploring the powerful draw of witchcraft and our vulnerability to toxic working environments and digital demands. Now, I do have to point out, my working environment is far from toxic. I love my job. I've got a fantastic team. I feel very valued, and it's an amazing role. But I can get very, all about work. In her year-long journey, Jennifer explores ancient festivals and rituals and visits fellow pagans and wild landscapes in search of wisdom and peace. For those who are sick at heart of noise, anger, and disconnection, the Wheel is full of wise words, crackling rituals, and wild beauty. This is a quest to discover how to live a grounded, less anxious life, charged with a natural energy, strength, and joy. How to be in tune with seasons, pagan rituals, and ancient festivals while living firmly in the 21st century. And I really love that because at the moment, my heart is quite heavy with what's happening in the world. We've got a war in Europe. We've got a cost of living crisis. You know, we're still hearing about cases about, you know, COVID. There's the changes to the weather because of, you know, global warming and everything else. Every time you turn on the news, it's just oppressive and heavy. And I really like the idea of, you know, for those who are sick at heart of noise, anger and disconnection, that this book can take you back to what's important, which is nature and the world around us. So that is the book that I intend to read from cover to cover during 2023. It'd be amazing if there's more than one, but I'm just going to start with that as a goal. Decks that I really want to go deep with in 2023. Now, big shout out to Kelly Bear as well, because I've seen her talk about her decks. And I thought about doing a VR, but then I kind of knew I was going to be talking about my year ahead and what I want to work with. So there's about 6 tarot decks and 3 oracles. They're not all new, but they are the ones that I want to really work with and go deeper with. Okay, so the first one is My Old Fellow, which is a version of the Keisha. It's on NPC. I haven't been able to put this down, and I've only had it about 6 weeks. So this is a deck that I know I will work with through 2023. I really like the fact that it's taken an old Marseille system, it has modernised it, it's made it more representative, and I love the fact that it's a mishmash of RWS in terms of the miners in a Marseille style of art. It's very cleverly done. It's been around since the 1970s, but this is Vivian's interpretation. And as I say, it's called The Old Fellow Revived because she's done a lot of work to modernise this and to, you know, it had awful kind of copyrights through the images. These are the backs, which I love. So Old Fellow Revived is out on my desk, front and centre. This is a beautiful Kelly Bear pouch. And it's one that I just adore, and it's going to be a main player through 2023. Also, I want to work more with Marseille style. I want to work with pips. This is based on a Besançon. This is Vincent Petiti's version of the 1JJ Swiss. And I've worked a lot with Conrad Staines and 1JJ Swiss, the vintage one. For this year, I want to work with this deck. I've only had this 2 weeks. I love it already. I've done so many amazing readings with this. And I feel really excited to connect again with my very first deck, almost 36 years ago. But it's got this new kind of new art, and it's beautiful. I want to study Dame Fortune's Wheel Tarot. I have done a video on this. It's by Paul Hewson. It's incredible. Again, it is a pip deck of sorts. It's kind of, again, a little bit hybrid. It's got illustrations in there. It's not just pips. It's beautifully colour coded. I love the green colour for the earth suit, the beautiful oranges for swords. It's just, it's a gorgeous, gorgeous deck. This book, there's not a lot of information in here, but the information in here is beautifully written, and yeah, it's a deck that I want to really connect with during this year. Another one that is new is Taroki by Jens Freeborg, Mr. Freeborg. I do struggle with the tuck box. The tuck box is beautiful. It's really, really nice. But opening it, even though I've had it a while now, I keep thinking I'm going to tear it because I really, really struggle to get it open. That's the only thing. Let me try and there we are, done it. I have it, other than the walkthrough, I've not worked with this yet because it came the week leading up to Christmas and then it's been full on Christmas. So it's still in order. It's not been worked with, but it is gorgeous. I mean, look at that hermit card. One of my favorite hermit cards ever. Again, it's Pip. So I think I'm going to be doing a lot of working with Pip-ish style decks this year. And it also comes with an expansion pack, I should say, which kind of takes it to becoming a Minchiati type deck, because it's got the astrological associations as well as the virtues and what was it? The elements. Had to think then. Another deck that I really want to work with next year is the Old Gods Tarot by Cilla Conway. Gorgeous deck, absolutely incredible. And Cilla has been so kind. She has gifted me a poster with my favourite images from the deck on it. I've just got to buy an A1 frame because it's a huge poster. It's going to hang on my bedroom wall. But it is stunning. It's beautiful. And this is, for me, going to be a study deck for the year because I want to learn about the old gods. And each card has at least 3 gods in it. And I want to learn about them. The minors, again, are Pip. So there's lots of work with brushing off my numerology and and going with that. And then second to last, I haven't got the book for this because I've just realised it's over there where I'm sat because I was reading it the other day. This is the, because I haven't got the book, it's gone right out of my head. The Star That Never Walks Around. It's a circular deck. The images are so simple, so beautiful. And the book is a joy to read. I'm really enjoying reading it, but I just love the artwork, and I've done some beautiful readings with this. So that's The Star That Never Walks Around. And then the final deck, and the reason why I've included this, and this pouch was made for me by my lovely big sister, Giselle, over at the channel Mad Witch. I mean, look at all these little lucky Buddha, a skull, a quartz crystal, a sun, a spider and a web. Oh, I love this that she made for me. This is my soul cards that was turned into a tarot deck. And I worked exclusively with soul cards for about 7 or 8 years, from 2001 to 2009-ish. And I've done so many readings, but I'm retraining my brain because this has been converted into a tarot. You know, there's the Hanged Man. I just love that, looking at things from a different perspective. Excuse me. That I've used it a few times and it's been really, really interesting, but it's something I want to work with more next year. And when I go away, I think this is the deck I'm going to take with me when I go somewhere, because it's a combination for me of seeing that this is, I mean, a beautiful Empress card, but also I've got years, you know, it's 21 years since I bought this deck of these images. So it's how my kind of, not knowledge, because it's not really knowledge when you're working with a soul deck. It's about how these images touch your soul and how I've got connections with them on a very deep and profound and personal level. But I'm going to find it interesting on how I now associate that and what these images have meant to me in the past, and how they now link to how I've associated them in with the major and minor arcana of the tarot. So that is one that I really want to work with next year as well. And look, this little skeleton hand. There's so much on this pouch. It is absolutely gorgeous. I love it. Thank you, Giselle, if you ever watch this. Okay, so Oracle decks. So I'm retiring because the decks I've used in the past is my Moonlight Oracle. I do love simple symbols with Oracle and keywords. And this one's based on the RWS. And I've used Oracle X all the way through this year as well. Either Oracle X or the Moonlight Oracle. For quick card pulls or clarifiers when doing tarot readings. I have worked with like Wendy Andrews' Goddess decks as a separate entity to that. But I really like, you know, a bit like Mildred Payne, an image and a keyword. So with that in mind, I want to continue using this deck, which I got start of November, which is, the book is called The Embodied Witch, but it's the Witch's Anatomy. Again, you get an image, we get a keyword of wisdom. Waxing and waning moon, dream. I mean, look how beautiful that image is. Festival, birth, the solstice, heal, protect. So really, really nice cards. I did buy the separate book as well, The Anatomy of a Witch book, which takes you even deeper in with the cards. So again, I've not read it because I've not read a book from cover to cover. But if I'm pulling a card, I can look at the quick reference guide and I can also go to the book and read more about it. This is a deck I've had for a few years and I've decided to pull it out again and work with it. So this is, oh, let's make sure we're getting it out properly. Okay, I love this deck. This is the Antiquities of Magic Oracle. Amazing book. Again, it links very much to the tarot, similar to Moonlight Oracle. It's by Gillian C. Wilde. So for instance, if you've got the crown, it will give you some keywords, but it'll also tell you the RWS tarot connections. So the High Priestess, the Empress, you know, all the ones that's wearing the crown, the Emperor. But, you know, it's also got, you know, the crown that appears on the ace cards and things like that. So again, you know, lobster, I automatically think of the moon card. You know, we've got ice, we've got a key, we're linked to the Hierophant, the lantern for the hermit, grapes, we could think of the Empress, we could think of temperance, we could also think of death. So there's lots of different associations, but these cards are a lovely size. I love the backs. Kind of reminds me of Dark Mansion. It's in a beautiful matte and the colours just pop on these cards as well. I love it. I absolutely love it. The pomegranate. So I'm going to leave this out actually because I'm going to work with this in a little while. Gorgeous little deck, and I really want to dig this out and work with this through the year. I'll probably use this in place of Oracle X, which I love Oracle X, but I've worked with it for a whole year now, and you know, maybe it's time for another one. And then the final one is Sign of the Times. Now I think this is new. I went into the bookshop yesterday when I picked up, I've just showed you, the wheel book. And I looked at the decks, and they've had some new decks in there because Fifth Spirit That's a deck I'm going to work with, but you know, there's so many decks I'm going to work with. The ones I've showed you are the ones that I want to go on a deeper study with. Signs of the Times, I've not even done a walkthrough of yet. It's still got the band on it. But it appealed to me because, again, this is very simple keywords, but it's symbols and signs in a modern world. And look at this, the evil eye. I've even, you know, wear an evil eye bracelet, and I've got an evil eye amulet hanging behind me. But it's got things like flamingo. It's got modern signs here. Yin and yang is a very important, and look, again, balance. You know, the rainbow, we've seen that recently for Pride, but we also see it for NHS over here. So very simple symbols or signs. And I'm really looking forward to, look at this, we've even got a receipt, but it's got angel numbers, you know, you've got 1111. How many times do we look at a clock and see an angel number or something like that? So yeah, I just think this is really nice. It's lovely cardstock. I love the backs. Lovely matte. It's by Hay House. Let's see actually when it was released, 2022. So it's new out this year. You get a little bit of information for each one. But yeah, I'm quite looking forward to working with this deck as well. Power lines, energy. Look at that, we've even got a coffee cup. It's got a B there for community. So yeah, that's the Signs, the Times Oracle. It's by Crystal Banner. But it's one I'm gonna, you know, work with. This is the sign you are waiting for. So I think that's everything. So I've gone through decks that I want to work with, journals I'm going to be using, and the pens that I'm going to be using with those journals. I've gone through my card of the year, my word of the year, and also the book that I want to read this year. Tell me yours in the comments. You know, what decks do you want to work with? What's your card of the year? What's your word of the year? What does it mean to you? Yeah, so this was my 2023, or certainly preparing for 2023. Just remember, no Cuppa Catch Up cards tomorrow, if it being New Year's Eve and I'm away. So I will see you next year. Until then, go in peace. Namaste and blessed be.